to my Rumble channel, Snacks123 on Rumble. I say again, welcome to my Rumble channel, Snacks123, SNAKZ123 on Rumble. And also welcome to my YouTube channel, Eric Broadus YouTube, EricBroadus YouTube. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing this live stream um for those that may be considering joining the military, and if you desire to get higher scores on your ASVAB so you can get um better job options. This is not just about passing the ASVAB itself, but this is about utilizing it effectively so that you can create better opportunities for yourself in the military. Now, um, the ASVAB, you may ask, okay, what is the ASVAB? Okay, well, the acronym, the ASVAB, ASVAB, what it stands for is Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Okay, and what this is the armed forces exam. Just like in certain professions, or let me just use the federal government for it. Like, say, something like the post office, or even certain city jobs, you have to take a test for it. Well, this right here is the same thing, except this is for the military. Okay, so that's what this ASVAB is now. Obviously, the ASVAB, it does have different. It has, different areas, of the test, in which, as we go along, I'll get into that. Which it does. It's not doesn't take long. It's real simple. You know. Next, you have the AFQT. Okay. What does it stand for? AFQT stands for Armed Forces Qualification Test. Okay, and so your AFQT score basically is derived from specific sections of your ASVAB, and it depends, all of it, you get a total score depending on how you do overall in each section. Obviously, some career fields are more technical than others, and you have to have a higher cutoff score, all the way up to your maximum. Obviously, the maximum in the ASVAB test is 100. That's the absolute perfect score. But some test scores, on the with certain career fields in the military, you may have some career fields where, I don't know if it was mechanics or, like, say, like maybe general, where you can score a minimum as low as 35 and go up to 100. But then there's other fields that are much more technical and sophisticated. Air traffic control, you have to have probably, I think, the minimum with air traffic control, it may be something like maybe 60 or 65. I'm going to say 55. It's been a minute. You know what I'm saying? But certain career fields have a lower minimum cutoff. So this is why you want to make sure that whatever career field you intend to go into, you want to make sure that you do really well on the ASVAB. You know what I'm saying? Because this score is going to your AF QT score is going to determine your eligibility. You know what I'm saying? It determines, what I'm saying, your job options, and also it'll determine your eligibility for the military. Some people can't make it into the military because their armed forces qualification test scores don't meet, the specific quota. And like I said, this is nothing. I wouldn't panic about it or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But there are some people that they don't if you want to say pass it or score high enough, for whatever particular branch of service that they are seeking to get into. So I'm basically just throwing something out there for you so that you can help to better prepare yourself, And this is something I wish that I had known, even though I took the ASVAB twice. I should have went in the first time when I was 17 because I scored really high, and I could have, um, gotten, other career fields. Now, what I will say is, when you go in taking your ASVAB, you obviously got to have options. Sometimes you may not score as high as you think you will. Maybe the first time, but or the second time you take it. But either way, once you go in to take this exam, make sure that you have lined out. I would say probably have two or three other options. So if, let's say, if you want to be I'm trying. Let me give you a guys a career. Let's say maybe some of you may want to go into the medical profession. Let's say you want to be a nurse. Okay. Let's So if you don't get selected or don't meet the cutoff for nursing, then what other option do you want to have? Do you want to, is there something else that you like to do? So have, I would say, two or three potential career options just in case you don't get number one. Because what you don't want to do is, I'm not saying that you can't afford to be picky, but you have to remember, um, these career fields, they're competitive, and so obviously if you're going for the better career fields, there's going to be more competition and a higher level and quality of candidates that you have to compete against in order to get these jobs and be selected. So have a backup. So if you don't get nursing, or if you don't get air traffic control, okay, well, what is your second option? Well, okay, I didn't get nursing. Well, I do kind of like, say maybe electronics. Always have a backup, and then even to that, saying have a backup. Always have a contingency plan. And I'm gonna tell you that for you guys that are considering going in, and even for those that are already in, you guys know this, what I'm saying. But for the newbies that are in, that's only been in maybe a couple of years, when you were in the military or before going in, what I'm saying, always have a contingency plan. So that way, if something doesn't work out the way you think, and even if you're in, you can always find another strategy to pivot out and make another move. So always have a backup. I don't care what those recruiters say. What I'm saying, they gonna tell you anything. Don't you know if you know that you can do better, don't let that recruiter rush you into a career field that you don't want to do just because they want to make their numbers. You know, I'm just trying to hip you guys to the game. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna tell you, nah, we don't have a quota. Yeah, yeah, right. And they have metrics, that they have to meet. And if a recruiter is not, for whatever branch of service they are in, what I'm saying, these guys are salesmen. And I'm not saying that there aren't some good and legitimate recruiters out there, but nevertheless, they still have certain metrics that they must meet. Other than that, what are they going to be rated on? A recruiter, he just can't, or he or she just can't come up with no candidates or no recruit for their specific branch of service that are not signing up. They have to produce, or either their branch of service is probably going to rate them, it's going to affect their performance report, and they probably might have them removed and send them back off. Recruiting is a special duty assignment. So there's perks and stuff like that that come with that. You see what I'm saying? So they have to produce a certain amount of eligible candidates for the military. You see? So understand that they are getting something out of this. And so they're not just being nice to you for nothing, you know. I'm telling you what I know. You know what I'm saying? I spent 20 years in the military. Trust me, I know. But anyway, but have a contingency plan and have about, say, maybe three jobs that you'd like to do, you know. All right. Moving along, okay. Now, how to study. I'm saying, this is the core value. So if you have specific jobs, that you want to go for, okay. In that ASVAB, you need to know what sections, matter most, you need to know what to focus on, and you need a viable study plan, and you need to know what study materials, to utilize, to help prepare you. And you need to understand, okay, you know, And please, guys, let me know if this is helping you. You know what I'm saying? Please let me know. Drop it in the chat, drop it in the comment sections. You know what I'm saying? Let me know. But I'm just here to share some information. That is why I came to these social media spaces, YouTube and Rumble. Okay. But yes, what I'm saying, know what sections matter. Now, um, in your ASVAB, you have several, let me see, several different sections, okay? Obviously, at the core, you're gonna have, what is it? You're gonna have the paragraph comprehension. What else? You have the what is it? Mathematics, you know what I'm saying? Section. I'm trying to think. What else is it? And then see, there's different sections on there, and I understand that some people are better at some things than others. You know what I'm saying? You know, but you need to know what sections, and how to appropriately prepare. You know what I'm saying? So, let's see. Study areas: arithmetic, reasoning, um, mathematics knowledge, word knowledge, and paragraph, comprehension. All of these they create, an AFQT score, Armed Forces Qualification Test score. Okay. Now, um, in some cases, um, unless you are going for these specific career fields, this is what you want to do. Lower priority, probably as far as studying, may be auto and shop, electronics, and mechanical. You know what I'm saying? Not unless you are specifically these. This is one of your dream jobs. That you want to do in the military. Now electronics, from what I understand, you do have to have a bit of a higher score in electronics, you know what I'm saying? But mechanical and like auto and shop, the test scores on the ASVAB don't have to be as high. I think I'm trying to think. I think with mechanical, auto and shop, and like general, I believe the lowest you can get, and it also depends on the branch of service, but generally speaking, across all branches, probably you may be able to get away with a minimum of a 35, but that's kind of low. So, here's what I would say. This is my opinion, and I don't care. You know what I'm saying? If it's box kicking on that ASVAB test, if you're going to supply, um, I would never count anything out. You know what I'm saying? Even if they consider auto and shop, mechanical and maybe electronics, maybe of a lower priority, uh-uh. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Each section that you have, you do your absolute best to prepare for them all. Now, like I said, you can prioritize these areas that I mentioned: arithmetic, reasoning, mathematics, knowledge, word knowledge. Yeah, definitely. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of any career field, you know what I'm saying, you want to do the best. Don't count anything out. Now, granted, if it's not a career field that you really want to do, obviously you want to spend more time prepping and studying for the career field that you want. You see what I'm saying? But don't take anything for granted. That's what I'm trying to say. A lot of you may not want to be going to mechanics or maybe certain career fields or even whatever general and stuff like that. You may not want to go into those career fields, but what I'm saying, nevertheless, you know, don't take anything for granted. You know what I'm saying? And don't just blow it off. Do your best in every particular section, because this ASVAB, um it's designed, to find out where you'll best fit, what I'm saying, in the military, and that's what they're looking at, what I'm saying. When they look at your AFQT score, they're looking to see, okay, you may say you want, say, nursing, but you scored higher maybe in, and I'm going to say it, saying maybe you scored much higher in maybe being a cook. And so, you know what I'm saying? So, according to them, the military may look at you and may figure that, well, they've scored much, much higher as being a cook. But for nursing, their scores, even though they still made the cutoff, it was still low. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with being an air traffic controller. Those scores have to be really high. So, Um, high, what's going to be really get you in with air traffic control? You need to have scores like probably about maybe 75 and above, 75 to a 90. You see, if you, even if the cutoff for air traffic control say maybe was 60 or whatever, say maybe 55, right? If you score on the lower end of it, they may think that, well, that this person is really, they're not that good. Yeah, they pass, saying they might be okay, but their goal with the military is to meet their needs and to get the highest qualified candidates, at least from what they know, on paper, I'm saying, with the test. This test is designed to give light to who may have a higher aptitude, for certain jobs. So and it is somewhat accurate, but there are a lot of people that go in and they take the ASVAB blindly. I didn't study when I took it. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times people um don't prepare, saying, for this ASVAB scores. As a result, many of them probably could have scored higher in other career fields and probably were meant to do other jobs, but they didn't properly prepare. So, but the test administrator in the military doesn't see that. They only see the end result. They don't know the background of the person, whether they studied or not. So that's why for you, you want to make sure you prepare so that um, they don't wind up placing you in a career field that you don't want to be in. Because once you get locked into a specific career field, at least for your first term of service, if you're going to enlist, say, or re-enlist, whatever like that, you can't get out of that career field until um, you can't get out of the career field until you complete your first term of service, or unless you get a special duty assignment. But for the most part, you're going to be locked in to that career field, and you don't want to do that to yourself. You want to spend your time in the military focusing on a job or career that you really want to do. It is much easier to do better in a career field that you desire to be in versus something that you don't, or you just like, I'm just trying to, get through it, or um, go through the motion. You know, so let's see. Common mistakes, that individuals make with the ASVAB. Some don't take it seriously. Like I said, failure to prepare. Some believe anything that the recruiter tells them. Recruiter pressure. You know, um, you know, ask questions. Ask that recruiter the what, the where, the why, the when, and how. And also, if you have family members or somebody that's reputable, that served in the military, ask them, some of the ins and outs, so they can better help you and point you in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Don't let that recruiter just serve anything. Now, like I said, the recruiters, they know their job now, but make that recruiter do their job. You know what I'm saying? Make them do their job. You know what I'm saying? Make them work, man. If you got questions, ask. There's no stupid question. That is what they get paid, to do. You know, that's their job. Um, Another mistake I would say, test day mindset. You know, when taking, some people are not the best test takers. Some people may get freak out or get nervous, but the better prepared you are, the less nervous you'll be. It's like anything else, practice makes perfect. And so, yeah, you might be a little something nervous, on test day, but if you know that you studied the best you could and you're well prepared, it'll reduce, nervousness. Okay. So um those are some things to think about. All right. Let's see. How about this? Another thing to consider, guys, what branch are you looking at? You know, in the armed forces, you have five branches. You have the Army, you have the Navy, you have the Marines, you have the Air Force, and also the Coast Guard, which um, in peacetime it falls under Department of Transportation, but it's still the military. In combat or wartime, it'll fall up under DOD. But Coast Guard is still part of the military, but they put it under Department of Transportation in peacetime. You know, I guess because maybe a lot of the operations they do now, the Coast Guard, they do deal with a lot of interdiction and all that stuff like that. On the coast, such drugs and weapons coming in, through the waters or through the port. So, actually, the Coast Guard is a pretty tight branch of service. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, people really don't talk. They don't really get the credit or the attention that they should. You know what I'm saying? But that right there, that's a tough branch of service. But they have a very good quality of life. you know but you have to consider what branch are you looking at. um why are you joining the military? You need to ask yourself these questions, because you are giving Uncle Sam a commitment. Why am I joining the military? What is it? What are your goals? You know what I'm saying? What is it that you want to get out of it? You know what I'm saying? And make sure that you get something, what I'm saying, from your time in the military, because believe me, they gonna get theirs from you. Is it the education benefits? Do you want to travel? You know, is it that do you want a steady paycheck? Is it the medical and other benefits? you know um know why, what I'm saying, what you're signing up for. And it's okay if you're not sure yet. There's nothing wrong with that. you know if you're just starting out and you're like, hey, I'm just rolling with it, nothing wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? And I personally believe that the military is I think it's a good choice. It may not be for everybody, but I think it is a good career option, to be considered. You know, excuse me, I'm just having some water real quick. But um, take a look, what I'm saying, at the different branches of services, because each branch has their specific priorities, what I'm saying. Each branch of service has their unique missions, you know, and you want to know the mission that branch of service has, and you also your career field is going to affect your lifestyle. you know um and all branches now, what I'm saying, deploy, what I'm saying, but certain branches deploy to certain type of locations more so than others, even though all of them do now because they share missions, what I'm saying. So you want to consider that if you want, um I would say, the best quality of life in the military, I would say join the Air Force, and then I'll probably say second, the Coast Guard. Those right there, those two have excellent quality of life. You know what I'm saying? If you want to make rank faster, I would say join the Army, Marines, Army, Marines, and let me see, the Navy. Let me see. I think I would say the Army and Marines. You know what I'm saying? You make rank faster. I know the Navy you can make rank, but um the Air Force, and Coast Guard, but especially the Air Force, they invest a lot in terms of quality of life for their people. So if you want to live good, hit the Air Force, and then second, hit the Coast Guard. If you want to get that, what I'm saying. Now, you can move up in rank fast, and if you're a fast burner, what I'm saying. But um the Army, Marines, and I'm not sure if the Navy do they promote as fast, but definitely Army, Marines, you may promote faster, and on top of that, they may have more career fields where you get special types of pays and bonuses. Now, every branch of services has certain career fields where they get certain types of pays, bonuses, like let me give you an example, like hazardous duty pay. Okay, let's just use that. You know what I'm saying? That's obviously for those that may be in certain type of zones or environments, or work certain type of career fields where there may be um the potential, for maybe some danger. So as a result, the military pays you hazardous duty pay depending on the environment and what type of mission or job that they're doing. And obviously, the Army and Marines, what I'm saying, certain locations that they may be stationed at or going to. And it does happen with the other branch of service. But like I said, because now they share some of the taskings with the Army and the Marines. The other branch of service were had to come and help the Army and Marines out because they were overwhelmed and overloaded, with a lot of different types of missions. So now all five branches, go to the front. Nobody gets away. But you have to consider, what each branch of service is going to offer you, because that is going to affect your military experience. Even though all five branches are the military, each one, even though the military itself has its own culture or subculture, each branch of service, even within the military, has its own unique subculture. You know, all of them, of course, they're going to be similar because they're all military, but there are some things unique. What I'm saying, to each branch of service. So just kind of look into that and know exactly um, what branch of service you're targeting and which one you want to get into. So you need to understand that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else in terms of your score. Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. All right. Now, um, as far as study material, because I'm quite sure you guys want to. Okay, well, how do I prepare? What do I study? Okay. Um, you have ASVAB prep books. What I'm saying, they're structured and reliable. What I'm saying, these right here, just like the golden standard, man. You have the Kaplan ASVAB prep. Um, this particular guide is very beginner friendly. It has strong explanations and it is best for math and reading. Okay. Second, you have Barron's ASVAB. Okay. They have harder practice questions, and this is a great study guide to use if you desire to get a higher score. Let's see. Also, you can even go online and do ASVAB practice test. What I'm saying? So that's something you can use. ASVAB test prep 2024. Every so often the military will update these ASVAB tests. What I'm saying? So they have a certain amount of years and then they'll update it again. So obviously the latest ASVAB Test Prep 2024. This is best for vocabulary, quick math drills, and practice questions on the go. What I'm saying? Obviously, I said online practice tests. These help with timing and confidence. Okay. Official ASVAB program, practice tests and selections and info. Utilize ASVAB practice tests websites. So what you have free plus paid. And let me emphasize this: practice tests teach you how the test thinks. And I'll say it again: the practice test, they teach you how the test thinks. So basically what it does, it gives you an idea of what it's going to be on that test. So you know exactly how to prepare yourself, and that way, more than likely, hopefully you should get some very high scores. Okay. Also, other ways to study and study guides. You can go on YouTube and look for channels that deal with the ASVAB prep. There are certain military channels that deal with preparation for the ASVAB. So and that's obviously free. So you can go to look on that. On YouTube, and it's great for visual learners. Now, what to look for? Math word problems, vocabulary strategies, step by step explanations. Now, let me say this. Don't just watch the video, what I'm saying, while you're watching it, when they going through the problems, pause it and take some time to solve the problem. What I'm saying? You don't want to just watch it, what I'm saying? You want to learn how to do it. You see what I'm saying? So pause it from time to time and go in and actually, do the problems, what I'm saying, and go to solve them. So that way, you'll be better prepared come test time. Also, guys, don't count out your libraries. You know what I'm saying? I know we're in a digital age, but libraries are still underrated, man. You know what I'm saying? Nothing, um, beats the books, or the libraries, or even a hard copy. You know what I'm saying? So most libraries they do have free ASVAB prep books, study guides, and practice exams. So if you don't have the money, to buy these, use your library. You know, yeah, it's a good option for zero budget. Okay. Now, as I said, priority areas to study, which would probably be about 80%. But obviously, arithmetic, reasoning, mathematics knowledge, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. Okay, these four areas, they create the armed forces qualification test score. And you want to definitely focus on that and don't count anything out. Do your best, across this exam. Don't discount anything, even whether it's mechanics. If you got the general section, auto shop, electronics, do your best on all of it. Okay. Um, Simple study plan. What I would recommend, I would say study 30 to 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 4 to 6 weeks. Um, my personal opinion, I believe that beats cramming, just about every time. Slow and steady or a little bit, at a time over a period of time with consistency, it beats trying to cram everything in, at once. You'll be able to better retain it, you know? But yeah. Anyway, the best ASVAB study material is the one you'll actually use consistently, not the most expensive one. So um just because it's expensive, doesn't mean it'll be effective for you. You want to find the right ASVAB study material that's for you. You know what I'm saying? Find which one best fits you and understand your learning style. How do you learn? You see what I'm saying? We all learn different. Some of us are learn and more visual. You know what I'm saying? Some are more hands on. But especially with all this technology and with the hard covers. You know what I'm saying? All types of material is available to suit your learning style. But the main thing, what I'm saying, is to learn it. But that's all I have, on this one. But I want you guys that are considering going into the military to be prepared. you know do the best you can and prepare yourself, because um this right here is going to have an impact and an effect on your future. So you don't want to waste opportunities and time. Time is the one thing you can't get back, and it is constantly going. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to be the age that you are ever again. you know and so time is steadily moving. So take full advantage of these opportunities and do your best. And the better you do on that ASVAB, the better options you have in the military. And then once it's like a stepping stone, like a staircase, what I'm saying, that allows you to step up the social economic ladder, provided you take advantage of the opportunities. So don't take anything for granted, but what I'm saying, have a plan, be prepared. And like I said, have at least three jobs that you would like to do. So that way, if your option one fails, okay, you have option two. If option two fails, you got option three. But more than likely, if you prepare, you should be able to get option one or option two. If you study and prepare yourself. you know but all of these will have an effect. What you do for a living will affect your quality of life. What you do, and I'll say it again, what you do for a living, it will affect your quality of life. What type of career you do, how much money does it pay, balanced against work life balance, you know. So with everything there has to be a balance, but you do need to earn a decent to good living or even excellent, you know. But definitely you need to earn at least especially with the way this economy is, you know. And the military is a stepping stone, and it does provide security, you know. So make the most of it, guys. Make the most of it. And your ASVAB and your AFQT, that right there is the key. You know what I'm saying? That's your ticket to get in, you know? So do the best you can on it, you know? Anyway, guys, that's all I have on this one. And the name of this channel is Snacks123 on Rumble. SNAKZ123 on Rumble. And also Eric Broadus YouTube. EricBroadus YouTube, or ericbroadusyoutube.com. So please join and follow me here on Rumble. Hit the like button to like the content and videos, live streams. Hit the unlike button if you don't like it. Either way, leave a comment. Love to dialogue with you. And please do share it. Share it. You know, push it out, man. Also for those on my YouTube channel, Rick Broadus YouTube. Um, Smash that bell to become a subscriber. Turn on all notifications. Hit the hype button to hype the video. Hit the unlike or like button to like the videos, live streams, content. Either way, leave a comment. Love to log with you. Everyone has a right to be heard. You know, everyone has a different perspective and has something to offer. You know what I'm saying? Make it known, share with us. You know, also, I have my podcast, Snacks Thoughts, SNAKZTHOUGHTS, Snacks Thoughts. And you can find my podcasts on Spotify, Spreaker Radio PBM, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and a host of other social media outlets. So please, join and follow me on Snack Thoughts. And lastly, I have the five best weight loss products, you know, which is for weight loss and nutrition, you know. So guys, take care of your health. Next to God, the next best thing that you have is your health. Your health is your wealth. You know, your health is worth more than money, guys. You know, take care of it. You know, you get one body and you get one life to live. And if you're going to go into the military, you must take care of your health. If you don't take care of your health in the military, actually you can get in trouble for that, because you are now considered, GI means government issue. So the military has standards that will they that will, so to speak, they're going to force you to comply to taking care of your health. And besides, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to be sick. You know what I'm saying? You want to live a healthy life. Your health affects your quality of life. So take care of it, guys. But that's all I have on this one, guys. And I'm trying to learn how to work this chat section. I'm still new to this on Rumble and YouTube, but I'll learn. When I get used to it, I guess I should have opened up the chat section. But thank you, guys. But this is how to prepare, you know, for the ASVAB, guys. All right, you know what I'm saying? Take your opportunity seriously. If you want to join the military, make sure you prepare for that ASVAB. But that's all I have on this one, guys. Catch you on the next one later. Peace.